Hey everybody, Matt here with the Most Adequate Collection, and today I wanted to talk about a few former Chicago Cubs players that are a big part of my collection. And when I say former Chicago Cubs players, I'm not talking about people who had a big impact on the team, people who played a long career with the Cubs, people that set records, accomplishments, had fantastic games, uh, incredible feats with the team. Kind of the opposite. These are players that I have in my collection that started their career with the Chicago Cubs, but found their fame and success and stardom elsewhere, to the point of where you forget that they were even on the team unless you have their rookie cards. Now, of course, the list begins with the 1962 Topps Lou Brock, who was with the Chicago Cubs for I think 3 or 4 seasons before being traded to the St. Louis Cardinals, where he became an absolute megastar in the league. And I don't remember who they traded him for, but I do remember that none of those players even came close to being the great ball player that Brock was. So it was one of those trades that ended up going down as one of the most lopsided in Major League history. Now the Cubs would rebound from that a couple decades later when they traded, I believe it was Ivan De Jesus to the Philadelphia Phillies for one of the all-time great second basemen in Ryan Sandberg. So they did kind of get that one back. But these are guys from my collection, which means that they came from the '80s when I started collecting cards. And so we'll go over a few of them. First off is a card from 1984, Donruss. All these are Donruss, actually. And this is a card I would get later on. I didn't really have it in my collection as a kid, but it was one that I always thought was really cool because it was one that was seen a lot in the Beckett Baseball Card Monthly magazines. And it is of 1984 Donruss rated rookie of Joe Carter. Now, this was featured a lot in Beckett magazines because I started collecting in the late 80s, early 90s. And in 1993, Joe Carter would make baseball history when he became, I believe, the second player ever to hit a walk-off home run to clinch a World Series victory for his team, for the Toronto Blue Jays. First one was Bill Mazeroski in 1960. And I think the only difference between the two is that Carter's was in Game 6, and I think Mazeroski's was in Game 7. So that was the only big difference why some people kind of see Mazeroski's as being the bigger event more so than Carter's. But still, it was a big deal. And not just with that one thing. It wasn't just a one great game. Joe Carter had a great career, a lot of success with a few different teams. After the Chicago Cubs, he was traded to the Cleveland Indians for a deal, and that brought Rick Sutcliffe to Chicago. So unlike the Lou Brock trade, Sutcliffe did a lot for the Cubs, so it wasn't quite seen as so lopsided. I know I remember when I started watching the team in 1989 and continued through their early 90s. Sutcliffe was a big part of the team, so at least they got someone to kind of anchor their rotation and do a lot of good for the team. But Joe Carter started with the team one season maybe before being traded, and it was a card that I always wanted because I saw it in the Beckett Baseball Monthly. And funny thing is about a month or two ago I had the same thought, and I was going through eBay and trying to find the right one, trying to get that card, and with the price I wanted to get it, it's one of those things where you want to get a card as cheap as you can with as good of a quality as you can. And any of the ones that I found that were of the right quality that I want, as far as centering, corners, was a little more than I wanted to pay based on what seemed to be the going rate for it. And the ones that were more within my price range had some rounded corners, off centering. And so I didn't end up buying one, just moved on to other eBay targets. And then when I was going through my cards today to find a few to send to a few people, then I stumbled upon that card and realized I already had it. So I don't know if you guys have bought cards before that you've already had and forgotten that you have them, but I almost did the same thing. Now the next one is a card that I had in my collection, and I don't remember when I got it, but I do remember thinking it was pretty cool. It was a 1985 rated rookie of outfielder Billy Hatcher. Now, unlike Carter, Hatcher didn't really have a he had a I think 11-year career, so he did okay, but he was never a big star. Didn't have many career accomplishments or any major events that took place. But I always thought it was cool just because it was the only 1985 Donruss card in my collection. Now, when we think as adults of retro cards or vintage, I mean, we're thinking of stuff 50, 60 years plus, maybe even a century ago with some of our collections. But when you're an 11-year-old in 1991, 6 years earlier is vintage enough. It's half your life. And for me, it was inaccessible. I had very little money, not family wise, but just my own personal money to spend on cards, and parents wouldn't probably let me spend the kind of money to start opening up packs of 84 or 85, 86 baseball cards, especially with the prices, what they were, with the value of some of the rookie cards at the time. And I don't remember how I got this card, but I do remember pulling a lot of Billy Hatcher cards from other sets. And I've always seen him as a member of the Cincinnati Reds, just because I think in the early 90s that's who he was playing for at the time. And so, and maybe it was one of those things of where when you see somebody so often, you assume that he's a good player or someone worth note. So the fact that I had this card, which was retro to me at the time, and that he was of a well-known player, and that he was on the Chicago Cubs, made it a really cool card for me. So I always thought it was great, and I still like it, even though it's probably worth the nickel now. But it was always kind of special to me. Lastly is a guy that is very, very well known, who certainly put Hall of Fame numbers up, but because of other decisions he made throughout his career, did not and probably will not be elected into the Hall of Fame, and that is of home run hitter Rafael Palmeiro, who played 3 seasons with the Chicago Cubs, starting in 1986, before being dealt to the Texas Rangers in a deal involving Mitch Williams. I think there was a multiplayer trade, but it essentially Rafael went to Texas, and then Mitch Williams came to Chicago, and there were other players thrown in. Now, Mitch Williams, I remember watching a lot on WGN when I became a Cubs fan, because watching day games when I'm home from school for the summer. And I always remembered how ridiculous his style was. If you haven't seen him, essentially every time he threw a pitch, he would fall off of the pitching mound. So go ahead and look it up. It's the wildest thing you've ever seen. But he did well with the team. He would eventually go to the Philadelphia Phillies and get to the World Series, but didn't have the longevity of a career that Palmeiro did. So I mean, Palmeiro certainly was the big name of that trade. And now I also knew of him because I grew up in Granbury, Texas, for a few years in the early '90s, which was a little bit south of Arlington, where the Rangers played. So we were in Texas Rangers country. And I went to a lot of Rangers games at the old Arlington Stadium. And so he was a big star for the team at the time, and so certainly a notable person for the team and someone I was well aware of. And similar to that 85 Donruss, even the 87 Donruss was kind of a little bit out of reach. So it was something I always thought of as kind of a retro card set, which is weird because I had no problem getting my hands on 87 Topps, but for some reason I had a hard time getting my hands on 1987 Donruss. And I don't know that I even have any cards of 1987 Fleer. But I did, later on as an adult, go on eBay and just out of fun, because I thought this was such a cool looking set as a kid, I did end up buying myself a box of unopened packs of 1987 Donruss. And I think at one point I was going to try to put the set together, but then eventually just kind of gave up on it. But I did get all the rookies out of it, which were great, and one of them being Rafael Palmeiro. Now he would eventually bounce between Texas Rangers and then Baltimore Orioles and then back to Texas and then back to the Orioles. Ended up finishing his career with, I think, 569 home runs, but due to his, I believe, failed PED tests, is going to go nowhere near the Hall of Fame. So there you go. Three cards that are pretty cool for my collection. Cards that aren't worth a lot monetarily, but cards that I like and I think they're cool. And being a Chicago Cubs fan, they fit pretty well into my collection. And so, I'm happy to have them. And sometimes it is cool to have those cards that are kind of almost in a weird way sentimental, to where they don't necessarily carry a lot of value, but it's something that you like. Because those are the cards that you enjoy looking at and revisiting from time to time. And as I found out, cards that I forgot that I even had. But that's it for today. Just wanted to make a short video and kind of go over that because it was something I was thinking of a day or two ago. And with the opening day here for the Major League Baseball season, decided it would be good to put a different little twist on a baseball video. So, and that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.